Last week, I had a great conversation with Noah M. Kenney from Digital 520 about his book called When the Model Was Wrong. And I shared a very short story about my little brother and some of the things that transpired. And I glossed over it. It's a difficult topic for me to discuss. I can get very business about it. But I had a few people reach out about the podcast. And one of the things they mentioned was that it didn't quite make sense in the sense of it's a too high level. What are we talking about? And I feel like it's really important to anchor everything into a story. So I want to share my brother's story and I want to relate that to the book. So again, the book is called When the Model Was Wrong. It goes over 8 use cases, one of which is a healthcare scenario. Now, these use cases, what they're exploring are end-to-end systems that negatively impact a person. So in a diagnosis, we have of some sort of medical event. That's one of them. We have situations in life that happen today where somebody shows up sick and decisions are made and that person is worse for that decision being made. That's what happened to my little brother. That's what's clearly articulated in the book. So I'll just tell you my brother's story because I think it's as simple as it gets. Everyone should be able to see where this went wrong. My brother got sick in the months following his marriage. Got married in September of 2018. He started to show up lethargic. He didn't have his kind of radiance, his just like joy. He was very like down. And he kept going to the doctor over and over and over again. And he never could get better. And after he did some scans, some imaging, some blood work, they came back with he has pneumonia. There's nothing that's throwing a red flag to indicate anything more, scary going on with the diagnosis. And they diagnosed him twice with pneumonia. So in the book, what they talk about is how that information, the scans, the tests, the labs, how they move in and out of the systems behind the scenes to get that analysis done, and how it loses the context of the situation, which is you have a 29-year-old man who can barely get off the couch because he feels so bad. He keeps showing up to the doctor and they keep telling him it's one thing, only to find after a 4 or 5 month process that it was in fact lung cancer. It had progressed to stage 4. He had no chance to fight it in a way where he could beat it. I never told my brother it would be okay because I knew from the beginning that it wouldn't be. And I've really struggled to make sense of it all. The reality is, I'm not going to be able to. It's in the past. It happened. He's gone. He's been gone for years. He's the person in my life that when I was challenged or needing somebody to talk to, I would call him. When there were family events or get-togethers or anything going on, I would call him. He was 2 years younger than me. His birthday was 2 weeks after mine. So we always would share our life events, our birthdays, our family time, our everything together. And to not have that anymore is difficult. So when I was reading the book, to understand simply through a narrative how this misdiagnosis could have occurred at a technical level, at a governance level, at a corporate decision-making level, it raised a lot of emotions for me. Because the answer I was given, why this misdiagnosis occurred, the day I asked that question to the doctors at the hospital, just 24 hours after learning about this diagnosis, was when you're looking for horses, you won't spot the zebras. As I've thought about that, after understanding what I understand now after reading this book, it seems like a very churched up, legal approved answer to a governance failure. And I think about what to do with that because I'm very upset. And in the podcast that I released and recorded with Noah, as we talk through the book, he very expertly explained how scans for pneumonia from federal provided data sets produced incorrect clinical diagnosis and incorrect results. That the data that the model used is what threw everything off. He also went on to explain how they fixed it. And I think that's more what I am holding on to. I've mentioned this a few times that there's 8 use cases in the book. The book does a great job of explaining and exposing kind of how things happen, not from a revenge seeking or a gotcha standpoint. It's from the standpoint of someone who's in the room after something bad happens with the hopes of fixing it moving forward. Which chapter 9, through the end of the book, goes through solutions, answers to how these types of systemic derived failures, like a misdiagnosis twice that led to a stage 4 cancer diagnosis, can be prevented. That's what I want to get across. This book raises your awareness to the concerns and where they stem from with the use of AI in high-risk systems like medical imaging analysis, getting a job or not, getting into the school or not, predatory marketing, unfair housing. You see, AI can do a lot of good if it's done correctly, but it can do a heck of a lot more bad if it's done carelessly or with the wrong intent. I think everybody should start from the place of it's done from a place of ignorance or pressure to get something to market quick. with the right intention versus we have evil running behind the scenes. Now that's a spectrum and it all exists. So from my perspective, what I'm capable of doing now is helping organizations move from a place of lack of understanding, lack of awareness, lack of talent, a deficit generally in their current situation. I can bring in the perspectives that they need so that they can do things right. Because the majority of people do want better outcomes for the patients, right? It's in the Geneva Declaration, the modern version of the Hippocratic Oath that all physicians take and all medical care facilities should also adopt to do right by the patient and not just be money seeking. I'm here to help. I'm not here to run people through the mud because my brother wouldn't have enjoyed that. But my brother also would have said, get that money. Make sure you're getting paid so you can buy new cars and snowmobiles and four-wheelers and all sorts of other expensive toys. And it would also be super duper cool of you if you could figure out how to keep the earth cool so we could have more snow days. Days after my brother passed away in October, he died on October 16th of 2020, 9 days after he turned 31, 32. I got the obituary over here. I can't remember this stuff. We got 6, maybe 7 inches of snow. We went out and we made a snowman. And that was his way of letting everybody know he was okay. And it would be okay. It doesn't snow in the middle of October in Iowa very often. I know most of you don't know much about Iowa, but it's not that cold. And it snows a lot less than it used to. I'm going to use my voice and Justin's story to help bring change to systematic failure across high-risk industries. What I do in my day-to-day life is I sell technology solutions for communications, telecommunications within business. I understand how information flows from the phone call when you pick it up to when it routes through a business, to a voicemail, to the next person. I understand communication systems. I understand value, where the rub is, where there's current deficit. I understand how corporate businesses make decisions. These are our strategic goals. We're here, we're trying to go there. This is our approach. I understand how governance, risk, and compliance strengthens that approach so that a strategy can be achieved. I'm good at helping anybody get very sharp on where they're trying to go. I have all the people to help you get there. So if you are just starting in business and your goal is to figure out how to go from, I think I can sell this product and I want to get 10 new customers, to I have systemic failure in my cancer diagnosis for lungs that can't catch human error or human misdiagnosis, or my AI is actually leading the charge for diagnosis and my doctors are following up and confirming, and sometimes being misled or misdirected by poor data within my system. And I'd like to fix that and everything in between. I have an amazing group of people behind me. I am ready to step into the role that I need to be, which is the salesperson that should have showed up to Unity Point Health with the people behind me to prevent this error from happening. And I should have been more prepared in 2016 or 2017 so that they may have caught my brother's cancer earlier to give him a fighting shot. I would have loved the opportunity to tell my little brother that there was hope, even if it was bleak. To not have hope is a very, very lonely place. I miss my little brother every single day. And I cried before I recorded this so that I'd get it out of my system, so that I could be very clear and without emotion so you would hear the story. Yes, I'm a sales guy. I also studied history and psychology in school. History is the study of change. By looking at historical evidence, prime sources, gleaning insights off of that, and coming to a conclusion of what happened. I think when you walk into a doctor's office, it's not so different. Tell me a little bit about what's happening. When did these symptoms first occur? Is there anything else I should know about? Let's run some tests. Let's collect a little more information. Let's do a little more research. Let's monitor it and check back in 2 weeks. These are all ways of collecting information historically, something I'm very good at. It makes a lot of sense to me. Once you get enough information, you can make a proper clinical diagnosis. What doctors bring to the table is years and years and years of research and study and just discipline to do the right thing and to make the right calls and to always err on the side of caution on behalf of the patient, to do right by the patient. It is a selfless job. What I know is happening, and that if I was enabled to audit all of these systems so that they can be better, I guarantee you I would find a percentage of these systems, these hospital systems, these healthcare systems run by people that I just explained, doctors who care about the patient, make corporate decisions that fall on the side of, hey, we need to make more money. We don't need to care so much about the patient outcome this time. It's too expensive for us. Or we need to increase the bottom line, and that's the corporate decision for the healthcare administrator or the firm that owns the hospital system. The organizations that willingly want to go through this process of a health check of their AI and data systems want to do the right thing and should be given grace for any errors that come out, because they're proactively looking for better ways to do it with people who can help. Anyone who goes and avoids a health check, well, they probably don't want it to let other people know what's really going on. So, my ask, because every good salesperson should always have an ask. is for Unity Point Health to allow my team to work with your team to get your data and AI governance right, to ensure that something like this that happened to my brother does not happen again. Or at least we did everything in our power to prevent it. I'm happy to set up an initial call to start the conversation. My team is not cheap because I work with the best people. I'll send over an invoice after we do discovery.